So there's a quote here. That's all any of us are, amateurs. We don't live enough to be anything else.
I think obviously that's trying to make a point that, you don't overthink things because you're an amateur and all you'll ever be is an amateur. However, in the reality of things, obviously, to call somebody an amateur who's been spending their lifetime working on building a skill,
Yeah.
I think is a little bit insensitive, right? You see what I mean?
No, I see what you're saying.
I get where the book is coming out from in that we're all amateurs, and so we shouldn't be scared to, obviously, go out there and put our work out there, and we shouldn't have
Look
too
like an
much
idiot,
anxiety.
basically.
Anxiety. By the same token, I think he's trying to make a point, and so he uses this quote.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna get a bit of energy in this stuff and a bit of clarity.
Yeah.
I'll let you be the mediator because you're good at that.
You always do this, man.
I'm the guy that just sits back and just
You always do this.
watch
You
things
always
unfold.
downplay your role, like, do you know what I mean? Like,
What?
you always downplay your role, like you're not that important.
I am important, but I just like to sit back and chill.
Okay, fair enough.
That's my role. Your role is you're the antagonist.
The antagonist.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, so let's get started.
Yeah, let's get started.
Let's get into it.
So today we have a book called Show Your Work by Autin Kleon. And I never know where to look, whether in the camera or look at you.
Just look at me.
I guess it's a discussion, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have a book. Oh, shit, my socks. Okay, let's go. Okay, there's a book here called Show Your Work by Autin Kleon, and it's really good. This is a book I read, I think, sometime last year.
Yeah.
And I think it's a good book to read for anyone that's a creative, or anyone that anyone that's a creative, or anyone's got that work out there that is, I guess, in two minds about wanting to put your book out, right? So to an extent, it kind of pushes you to step out your comfort zone to an extent to put your work out there. And there's a number of things that Autin Kleon actually talks about within this book. Many of which I think is applicable. I'm talking for myself anyway. Many of which I think is applicable and can be sort of like some parallels can be drawn into whatever line of work it is that you're doing. Some of which not so much. And I think this is a great space, a great place to actually discuss this on the symposium. So yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. Let's get into it. I really like how you talked about stepping out your comfort zone. I feel like a lot of us are in our comfort zones. And I feel like as you step out of your comfort zone, sometimes you find a new comfort zone. So you step out of one comfort zone into another comfort zone
Yeah.
as time progresses. And, you kind of, it's an continuous process, right? Stepping out your comfort zone.
Of course.
As the more you step out, the bigger it grows.
Sure.
So I think this book is really good it's really good to revisit. So yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah, I guess just before digressing and going off track, is I always like to contradict myself. What?
Maybe it's not a contradiction.
Yeah, well, I guess what would be the definition of a comfort zone would be defined by you, the individual, right? So, so I guess if I feel like it isn't a comfort zone. Yes, I'm comfortable within this particular role, but it isn't really a comfort zone and I just want to be there, then fair enough, right?
So I lost you. I was setting up the game.
No, talking about obviously who defines what a comfort zone is.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that if, say, for instance, I'm in a particular role, in a particular job.
Yeah.
Let's say, and I feel comfortable within that job role. Then you could say that, okay, yeah, I guess within that you would say, yeah, I'm in my comfort zone, but is it always a negative thing to be in a comfort zone or in your comfort zone?
I guess it depends what you're trying to achieve, right? I guess if you're trying to, if you're doing something and it's not working, you're trying to do something else. I guess stepping out your comfort zone can be a positive thing in kind of helping you break through your routine and helping you find something new which challenges you but brings you greater results. So I guess it depends on what you're trying to achieve. If you're already successful in doing something that's working, you're not really about innovation. You just want to just steady the ship and just carry on doing what you're doing. Then your comfort zone can be a good place because you know how things work, and I guess you can optimize the things you do and the time that you spend on things, and not having to stress about new challenges and stuff like that.
Okay, so I guess it's about what you want to achieve. Okay, that's fair enough. But I don't know if you would agree with me, but I think that oftentimes the word comfort zone comes with a lot of like negative connotation, more so from the self development, self
Yeah, so
improvement,
development,
and self improvement
society.
gurus.
Yeah,
But it isn't always necessarily a negative thing, depending on your standpoint and what you want from And I think it's something to think about.
definitely, definitely. Food for thought.
So the first bit is a new way of operating, and so there's a quote here from a guy by the name of John Cleese. It says, "Creativity is not talent; it is a way of operating." What do you think about that?
Creativity is not a talent; it's a way of operating. Yeah, yeah. Because I would say everybody's born with the ability to be creative. So it's not necessarily something which is, because I would define a talent as something which is kind of hard to obtain through work, or it's hard to obtain, and you have to kind of work to get it.
Yeah,
Like playing the piano is a talent, and it's hard to obtain. However, creativity is something that everyone is able to do, but it's about if you express it, and how like through operation, your daily expression, the things you do, that kind of defines how creative you are as an individual,
sure.
or how much creativity you espouse in your daily activities and stuff.
Okay, so
Yeah, so I do agree with that to an extent.
your day to day activities basically defines you as a creative person, an individual. That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I see.
But I believe that everybody is born with the ability to be creative. However, actually, yeah, I agree with 100%, not to an extent, 100%.
Yeah. Okay. I think obviously we have to look at it in context. So he's taking this abstract here, and obviously the whole idea about show your work is to not be too bogged down on focusing on, I guess, the finished product, but more so to to put the things that you do behind the scene in the public eye and in the public domain. And to an extent, I think he sees Autin Kleon sees this as, is it Ashton or Austin? Austin.
I haven't got a clue.
Yeah, Autin Kleon sees this as being creative,
Yeah.
and I guess his whole thing is not hiding your work until it's the final product. So another bit of it, he says, "Be so good they can't ignore you. If you just focus on getting really good," Martin says, "people will come to you." And yeah, I mean, I don't know if you disagree with this.
No, I don't disagree with it. I guess, yeah, I don't disagree with it.
Yeah, I think obviously ultimately the right people would find you, but I guess there's also an element of, and I believe it's a very simple statement to make, because ultimately I guess if there's a business. If you're trying to, be, let's say, if you see yourself as an entrepreneur first and foremost, then I guess if you want the business to be successful, you'd want people to find you, right? So, yes, if you're doing something that in your head you believe is so good, or you believe to be very, very good, but then the audience are not reciprocating the let's say, for instance, that they're not reciprocating the views and feedback or reward, then would you say that carry on doing what you're doing if you feel like you're so good at what you're doing?
Yeah. I think we had a very in-depth conversation about this some time ago. Yeah, I guess it depends on what you're doing it and who you're doing it for. Like you said, if you're in a business, you want it to be successful, you have to gauge the goodness of what you're doing off of the response you get from who your target audience is. So if you're doing something that you alone believe is great, and your goal is to build a successful business, but nobody else believes it's great, your target audience don't believe it's great, then you have to kind of change what good is to you and how you measure the improvements you're making.
Yeah, it's a really tricky one, because I think it depends what. At times, it depends what game you're playing. So if you're playing a game of, I want to do this because I'm so good at it, and I think I'm so good at it, and I'm so passionate about what I'm doing, then so be it. So if you're not so much concerned about getting that transaction or that reward in the opposite direction, then it's cool. But if you're playing the other game, which is you're looking at it from a business point of view. So you're creating this merchandise because you want a bit of money basically from what you're creating. Then I guess there's a business element that actually comes into play, which in my opinion, show you what it doesn't really touch too much on the business element. It's more about putting yourself out there.
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of that quote, what's the point it makes about that quote being so good they can't ignore you? Because I think it goes on to talk about how being great is okay, but showing the process to becoming great, or showing the process to developing your skills, is important.
Okay, so he goes on to say something. Okay, let me just give it a bit more context. So, I hate talking about self-promotion. Comedian Steve Martin famously dodges these questions with the advice, be so good they can't ignore you. If you just focus on getting really good, Martin says, people will come to you. I happen to agree. You don't really find an audience for your work. They find you. But it's not enough to be good. In order to be found, you have to be findable. I think there's an easy way of putting your work out there and making it discoverable whilst you are focused on getting really good at what you do.
Great stuff.
So yeah, I think
So being good is all well and good.
Yeah. I think Aston obviously concedes that, but it's not enough to be good. In order to be found, you have to be findable. So, I think later on in the book, it goes on to talk about, putting yourself out, like putting your work on, social media, Twitter and whatnot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Stuff.
Talk about you don't have to be a genius, find a genius. So this bit here, I think, is very obviously. I guess the whole premise over here was actually finding a space where your work can kind of flourish, or people, like-minded people like yourself, put their work out within that particular space for it to grow. I think that's what it calls a genius. That was my interpretation from this chapter.
Yeah, the seniors. Is there a lot of sibilants in your mic? So like, my S is very sharp in your mic.
No, not really.
Seniors. Okay. So yeah, so seniors is right. So I think that's really good and something that we need to do more of, which I think we don't do enough.
Yeah.
Is join more seniors.
Yeah.
Like more work spaces online that do similar things to what we're doing and then posting our stuff more on there. Yeah, that's all I have to say on that.
Yeah,
I think it's a great idea.
That's great.
See,
So there's a couple of things we've highlighted here. If you believe in the lone genius myth, creativity is an unsocial act performed by only a few great figures, mostly dead men with names like Mozart, Einstein, Picasso.
Yeah. Biggie Smalls, Tupac. Can't forget those.
Which is very important. There's another bit here which is very important. Creativity is always, in some sense, a collaboration, the result of a mind connected with other minds.
Love it.
So that's that bit. Be an amateur. So I think we discussed this earlier on. So there's a quote here. That's all any of us are, amateurs. We don't live enough to be anything else.
I think obviously that's trying to make a point that, you don't overthink things because you're an amateur and all you'll ever be is an amateur. However, in the reality of things, obviously, to call somebody an amateur who's been spending their lifetime working on building a skill, I think is a little bit insensitive, right? You see what I mean?
No, I see what you're saying.
I get where the book is coming at it from, in that we're all amateurs, and so we shouldn't be scared to, obviously, go out there and put our work out there, and we shouldn't have
Look
too
like an
much
idiot,
anxiety.
basically.
Anxiety. But at the same token, I think he's trying to make a point, and so he uses this quote.
Yeah,